Quick note before we begin. This video is for general education only. It is not personalized financial advice, so always make the money decisions that fit your own situation. Let me guess. You save up a little cushion, you feel good about it, and then, boom, the car breaks down, or the dentist finds a cavity, or the holidays arrive, and just like that, your savings is back to zero. If that keeps happening to you, you're not bad with money. You're just missing one simple tool that quietly changes everything, and almost nobody was ever taught it. It's called a sinking fund. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to set them up so that the next big surprise bill isn't a surprise at all. It's already paid for, sitting there waiting. Let's turn your emergencies into non-events. Here's the pattern almost everyone falls into. You build up some savings, you're proud of it, and then life sends a bill and drains the whole thing overnight. You start over. A few months later, it happens again. And slowly you start to believe that getting ahead just isn't possible for you. But look closely at those bills that keep wrecking you, and you'll notice something. Almost none of them are actually emergencies. The holidays happen on the same date every single year. Your car registration is annual and predictable. Tires wear out. Insurance premiums come due like clockwork. These aren't surprises. They're certainties that we simply refuse to plan for, so they feel like surprises when they arrive. We treat entirely predictable costs as emergencies, raid our savings to cover them, and then wonder why we never make progress. The problem was never your discipline. The problem is that you've been using one savings account to absorb a dozen different predictable expenses, and they keep colliding. Sinking funds fix that by giving each of those known costs its own home, so they never touch your real savings again. So let's define it clearly. A sinking fund is money you set aside gradually, a little at a time, for a specific expense you know is coming. That's the whole idea. Instead of getting hit with a big bill all at once, you break it into small, painless pieces and save them up in advance. Say you know Christmas will cost you around $1,200. Instead of panicking in December and reaching for a credit card, you set aside $100 a month starting in January. By the time the holidays arrive, the money is simply there. No stress, no debt, no scramble. That's a sinking fund. The name comes from old finance, where money was set aside over time to pay off a big future obligation. But you don't need the history, you just need the picture. A jar, real or digital, that you feed slowly and calmly, so that when the bill finally lands, it's already handled. It flips your entire relationship with big expenses, from reacting in a panic to preparing in peace. And once you feel that difference even once, you'll never want to go back. People mix these two up constantly, so let's make it crystal clear, because they do completely different jobs. Your emergency fund is for the truly unexpected and the genuinely urgent, the things you cannot predict. A job loss, a sudden medical crisis, a major breakdown out of nowhere. It's a single larger cushion, ideally 3 to 6 months of expenses, that mostly sits untouched like a fire extinguisher behind glass. You hope you never need it. Sinking funds are the opposite. They're for expenses you can absolutely predict, you just don't know the exact day. You know the car will eventually need tires. You know the holidays are coming. You know property taxes or insurance will come due. So you save for each one on purpose in its own category. Here's the key insight. When you have sinking funds, you stop rating your emergency fund for things that were never actually emergencies. Your emergency fund gets to stay full and boring and ready, doing its real job, while your sinking funds quietly absorb all of life's predictable hits. Together, they form a shield that almost nothing can get past. So what should you actually have sinking funds for? Start by looking at your own life and listing every big or irregular expense that isn't part of your normal monthly bills. But there's a common set that catches most people. So let me walk you through them. First, car maintenance and repairs, because your car will need something this year, guaranteed. Next, medical and dental for the co-pays, the checkups, the thing that flares up. Then the holidays and gifts, birthdays included, because generosity shouldn't wreck your January. Add annual bills, things like insurance premiums, registrations, subscriptions, and taxes that hit once or twice a year. Home or rental costs for repairs, replacements, and deposits. Travel if trips matter to you. And pet care if you've got a furry family member with their own surprise vet bills. You don't need all of these. and you can add your own. The point is to sit down once, look honestly at the year ahead, and name the predictable costs before they ambush you. Naming them is half the battle. What's named can be planned. What's ignored becomes the next so-called emergency. Now the math, and I promise it's easy. For each sinking fund, you answer two questions. One, how much will this cost? Two, when do I need it by? Then you divide. Take the total cost, divide it by the number of months until you need it, and that's your monthly contribution. Holidays cost $1,200 and you've got 12 months? $100 a month. Car registration is $300 and it's due in 6 months? $50 a month. New tires you expect to need for around $600 in a year? $50 a month. You do this little calculation for each category, then add up all the monthly amounts, and now you know exactly how much to tuck away every month to keep your whole life funded and surprise-free. Yes, when you total it up, it can look like a big number at first, and that's actually the point. That's the money that's been ambushing you all along. You just never saw it coming in advance. Seeing it laid out lets you plan for it calmly instead of getting blindsided. And if the total is more than you can do right now, don't worry. The next steps handle exactly that. You've got 3 good options, and there's no wrong answer, only what you'll actually stick with. Option 1, the digital way. Open a high-yield savings account that lets you create named sub-accounts or buckets and make one for each fund. Your money earns interest, stays separate, and you can see every category at a glance. Many popular online banks are built exactly for this. Option 2, the classic cash way. Physical envelopes, each labeled, each holding real cash for that category. This is the cash stuffing method you've seen everywhere, and we'll talk about why it works so well in a second. Option 3, the simple way. Keep everything in one savings account and track each fund's balance in a basic spreadsheet or note, so you know that within that one account, 400 is holidays and 300 is car. The money's together but mentally assigned. Pick whichever feels easiest to keep up with. A perfect system you abandon is worthless. A simple system you actually maintain is priceless. Start with the one you know yourself well enough to stick to. You've almost certainly seen it. People sitting down with a stack of cash and a binder full of labeled envelopes, physically stuffing money into each category. The hashtags around it have racked up billions of views, and it's not just for show. Cash stuffing is simply sinking funds in envelope budgeting made physical, and there's a real reason it works so well for so many people. When you handle actual cash, spending feels real in a way that swiping a card never does. Studies and plain experience both show we spend less when we can feel the money leaving our hands. Watching an envelope get thinner hits different than a number ticking down on a screen. And the ritual of it, sitting down on payday and deliberately funding each category, turns budgeting from a chore into something almost satisfying, even calming. Now, cash isn't practical for everything. Your rent and your online bills still run digitally, and keeping large amounts of cash around has its own risks. But for discretionary and sinking fund categories, the physical version can be a genuine game changer, especially if you're someone who overspends when it's all just invisible taps on a card. Maybe you added up all those categories and thought, that's great, but I don't have anything extra to fund them with. I hear you, and here's how you start anyway. First, you do not need to fund every category at once. Pick the 1 or 2 expenses that are coming soonest, or that would hurt the most, and start only with those. Fund the fire that's closest, not all of them. Second, start absurdly small. $5 or $10 into a category still builds the habit and still softens the blow, and you can grow it later. Third, use the money you free up from cutting expenses and killing subscriptions to seed these funds, so it isn't extra pressure, it's redirected money you were leaking anyway. And fourth, throw any windfall, a tax refund, a bonus, a birthday gift, straight into your most urgent fund to jumpstart it. The goal at the beginning isn't to be fully funded. It's to break the cycle of getting blindsided, even a little. Because the first time a bill comes due and the money's already there, you'll feel a kind of calm you didn't know was possible, and that feeling is what keeps you going. The people who succeed with sinking funds almost all have one thing in common, a simple payday ritual. Instead of leaving it to memory, they tie funding their categories to the exact moment money arrives, so it happens every single time without a decision. Here's how to build yours. When your paycheck lands before you spend anything, you move money into your sinking funds first, right alongside your savings. If you're doing it digitally, this can be fully automated, set up transfers into each bucket time for the day after payday, and you never have to think about it again. If you're using cash envelopes, the ritual is physical. You sit down on payday, take out the cash, and stuff each labeled envelope one at a time. That small act, done consistently, is what turns sinking funds from a nice idea into an unbreakable habit. The key word is first. Fund your categories before the money has a chance to wander off into everyday spending, because whatever you leave unassigned will get spent every time. Attach the habit to payday, make it automatic or ritual, and your funds fill themselves in the background while you get on with your life. Consistency, not intensity, is what makes this work. Before you build yours, let me save you from the few mistakes that trip people up, because dodging them keeps the whole system honest. Mistake 1. Creating too many categories at once. If you try to fund 15 different pots from day one, each gets a trickle, none feels meaningful, and you get discouraged and quit. Start with 2 or 3 that matter most and grow from there. Mistake 2. Rating your sinking funds for the wrong thing. The car fund is for the car, not for a spontaneous weekend trip, because the second you start borrowing between categories, the whole point collapses and you're back to robbing one, need to pay another. Mistake 3. Mixing your sinking funds invisibly into your regular checking account, where they blend in with spending money and quietly get eaten. Keep them clearly separated, whether that's a dedicated savings account with buckets, real envelopes, or at minimum a tracker that names every dollar. And mistake 4, forgetting to refill a fund after you use it. The day the car fund pays for repairs, your job is to start refilling it for next time, because there's always a next time. Avoid these 4, keep it simple and separated, and your sinking funds will quietly protect you for years. Let's talk about the real payoff, because it's bigger than money. When your sinking funds are up and running, something profound changes about daily life. The constant low-grade dread goes away. Think about how much mental energy you spend quietly worrying about what might go wrong, the what if of the car, the what if of the bill, the bracing every time something unexpected shows up. Sinking funds dissolve that. When the car needs $400 of work, you don't feel your stomach drop. You just go to the car fund and it's there. The mechanic's bad news becomes a mild inconvenience instead of a financial gut punch. The holidays become joyful instead of anxious. That predictable expense that used to trigger a spiral now barely registers. This is what people really mean when they talk about financial peace. It's not about being rich. It's about not being afraid of your own life. It's knowing that the normal, predictable curveballs are already handled so you can actually breathe. Sinking funds are one of the simplest, most underrated tools for buying that peace, and almost anyone can start building it, one small category at a time.